Let's say your Rails application hits traction. You start signing 20, 50 or 100 customers. Pretty soon you're not building SaaS, you are managing tenants. The big question here, how do you keep the data isolated, performant and maintainable at scale? Today I'll share you two core approaches, schema-per-tenant and row-level security. We'll look at code, the operational trade-offs, and I'll share you some lessons for scaling real SaaS platforms. In Rails, multi-tenancy boils down to how do you separate one tenant data from another. You probably see gems as act as tenant or even scoped models like this. That's fine for small apps, but once you onboard enterprise customers, things get complicated. You start hitting Postgres performance hits, security reviews ask tough questions, and suddenly you need strategy that scales. The first approach is schema-per-tenant. Instead of putting all tenants into one big public schema, you give each tenant their own Postgres schema. So tenant A invoices live in tenant A invoices, tenant B's in tenant B invoices. Same tables isolated at the database level. Rails gems like apartment or act as tenant with schema can help manage this. The second approach is row-level security. Here all tenants share the same table, but Postgres enforces policies so that each tenant can only access its own rows. Think of it as database level where clause. In Rails, you'd set app.current account when a request comes in. Schema-per-tenant gives you strong isolation. If a bug leaves its data, it can't cross schemas. So it's easy to do per-tenant backups or deletes, important for GDPR. Row-level security, on the other hand, keeps everything in one schema. Simpler migrations, fewer connections, but you rely on policies. If you misconfigure a policy, you could leak data between tenants. With schema-per-tenant, Postgres keeps indexes per schema. That means smaller index sizes, faster lookups, but as the tenant grows, you are managing hundreds of schemas. With row-level security, you only have one set of indexes, easier to manage, but queries have to scan across huge tables. That can cause bloat unless you carefully partition or shard. Here in reality, schema-per-tenant makes upgrades painful. Run a migration, you need to apply 500 schemas. Here's the reality, schema-per-tenant makes upgrades painful. Running a migration, you need to apply it to 500 schemas. Row-level security, however, just one migration, but a single corrupted table could affect every tenant. Now backups, schema-per-tenant, easy per-tenant dumps. Row-level security, big backups, harder to restore a single customer. Let me show you how this looks in Rails. For schema-per-tenant with apartment, for row-level security, you'd set tenant in the connection. Different philosophies, same end goal, tenant isolation. So which approach should you use? If you're selling to a large enterprise, you want data isolation. Or if per tenant SLA matters, schema-per-tenant gives you leverage. If you're optimizing for fast iterations, a lot of small tenants. Row-level security reduces ops burden. The truth is both can work, the trade-offs show up as you scale. To wrap up, multi-tenancy in Rails isn't just about a gem you install in Rails. It's about the strategy choice. Schema-per-tenant and row-level security each solve the problem differently, and operational trade-offs shape how your SaaS grows. The best engineering teams don't ask, does it work? They ask, will it still work with thousands of tenants? That's the mindset that separates MVPs from scalable platforms. Subscribe for more Rails sales insights.